Good evening and welcome to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We are absolutely thrilled to have back one of our favourite guests. She always gives an enlightening show, and your shows are also one of the most watched because we talk about sex. And this is Madina Demirbas. She is a TEDx speaker, she is a sex therapist, she's a counsellor, she's absolutely fascinating, and today we're going to be talking about polyamory.
Yes, indeed. Let's get ready.
Yes. Well,
it's going to be hot in here.
I know, because we've been talking about it recently because of the whole Lily Allen new album that she dropped, which was all about the breakdown of her marriage. And part of this is this woman called Madeline. It's going to become the new Jolene, I think. And it was this whole idea that she and her husband had an open marriage, but before anyone judges, last time Madina was on this show, we talked about kink and we talked about the rules that everyone follows. And according to Lily Allen, he broke the rules. So they had rules.
Okay.
He had an affair. One of the rules was it's sexual. It's not in our house. It's somewhere else, and that's all it is. He had an affair.
Oh, okay.
So
I understand.
So we will talk about this.
We will.
Yes. Absolutely.
Definitely.
So, Madina, what is polyamory, and how does it differ from a throuple, for example, and how popular is polyamory?
So polyamory is one of the types of ethical non-monogamy, E&M. Other forms would be solo poly, or it would be open relationships where you would have just sexual relationship but not without any emotional ties. We would have hierarchical polyamory and so on. But this particular polyamory literally means loving several people at the same time.
Right.
So that means having not an affair but a relationship with more than one partner based on consent. So it's a type of ethical or consensual non-monogamy.
And that's the big genus, as it were.
The umbrella. So how popular it is, whether it became more popular, we don't know, but it became definitely more visible.
Yes.
And some studies says that up to 7% of people in the West are in in consensual non-monogamy relationships in some type of it.
That's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, more than I would have thought.
For me, it's less than I would have thought. Because I'm a couples therapist and I specialize in infidelity, and that's why I was. Are some people underreporting, perhaps, or how do we define monogamy? But we'll get to that.
Yeah, interesting. So, why would people, in your experience, engage in polyamory? Is it because maybe they're bored with their relationship, or is it kind of a more natural thing that happens organically, maybe?
I think, well, let's look historically what marriages were for and what relationships were for. It was for survival, for economic reasons, and just to get the household going, right? So that did its purpose till about 20th century when it became about love. So now, on the top of being compatible in terms of economical goals, you also had to love each other. Now, in 21st century, towards the end of 20th and 21st century, it became the household, the love, and next layer self-realization. So your marriage has to be an extension of who you are. Right. And polyamory allegedly offers this one of the ways of fully expressing yourself and therefore allegedly being more happy and more fulfilled as a person.
That's so interesting because on the one hand, actually, there can be some real truth in that, because if you've got a couple who for themselves expressing it through polyamory matches, so it's in the same way as having that discussion of do we want children?
Yeah.
Do we want to bring them up in a religious manner? Are we okay with this religion?
Yeah. It's not enough. So it's not enough nowadays, apparently, to just love each other. You have to also have to match in terms of your values of expression of who you are, whatever that means. Now, who you are is a very tricky one. So that's one of the explanations that I would have. It's a an attempt to fully express, to live your life to the fullest, whatever that means in Western terms. Secondly, I think it's the consumerism culture that affects us.
Yeah.
Are we actually missing out? Shall we have more? It's, the whole Western culture about having it all and having it effectively, I think, it affects how we view the relationships.
Yeah.
Never mind that relationships are not products and people are not products. Well, apart from being product of their culture and so on.
Yeah.
But, it's much more complicated than that. And yet people have this fear of missing out, of having it all at the same time. And then, so that part, and, the choices that people have lives them, but always a bit bitter, like, could I have a bit more here? And then the third factor, that we're living much longer than our ancestors.
Yeah,
what do we do with all this time? I mean, do we stay, fully monogamous? Do we cheat? How? So it's an attempt to resolve this issue of actually staying together, but longer and in healthier relationships.
Wow,
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and if that's what both of you want, I think that's great.
If it helps you sustain that relationship for longer, I mean, and both
usually
people are
that's the
consenting.
initial intent. Now, whether it is doable or not, we'll yet to see. But this is the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Let's still be together, but in a different way.
Interesting. Thank you.
Last time when we spoke about fetish, and we spoke about kink, and we spoke about rules in particular, and that blew my mind. I had no idea there were so many rules, but I now understand that I felt very proud of myself, having learnt from you, Madina, when the whole Lily Allen thing came. He broke the rules. He broke the rules. I know there's rules, and I think those rules are respectful. So, is polyamory, in an ideal world, going to be between a couple who's really into it and wants to express themselves in that way, but in reality, is it driven more by one person over the other?
Usually it is. Usually there's always one partner who wants more. And usually this person will start the negotiation process. Where does it take them is a different story. You see, I like to say that, when you're doing personal therapy as a single person, for 2 or 3 years, whatever, and then you come out, it's like, now I'm all this healed person, I'm great, I'm good to go. And you get into relationships, and then you realize there's so much more baggage. Now, polyamory takes it to the next level, where you get to discover about yourself things you never thought you knew.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, again, about the practical side of it. But coming back to your question, boundaries and rules are absolutely essential. The polyamorous relationships which work only because of the rules. Yes, it is about self-expression and feeling nice and feeling good about yourself, but first and foremost, it's about very, very explicitly discussed rules and following them and knowing the outcomes that are going to follow if you don't.
Yes, because it is about respect for everybody involved.
And ongoing consent and checking in every now and then.
So this ongoing consent thing, we see a lot of the tabloid headings, I wanted it, she didn't, she went along with it, and either she's now run off with the other person, or alternatively, you've got the person who didn't want to go along with it, who's now saying, I really shouldn't have said yes, but now they're holding me to, I said yes. And I know consent should be able to be negotiated and renegotiated, but can it ever work if someone just went along with it?
Obviously not. It's a time bomb.
However,
one way or the other, it's just going to blow up at some point. However, if let's say there's partner A and partner B, and partner B is not sure but considers, but it's a good time to explore beforehand, to see perhaps a couples therapist, or not necessarily, but something beyond just the information in the books and movies, which are, they're helpful, but perhaps going to the community, you'll be surprised how big they are and how people are willing to share their experience, and actually asking them, what did you go through, how was it for you, what are the underwater rocks, or what would you call, what are the hidden gems perhaps as well, all these things to ask. And then for some people we know, for some personality type, polyamory or any type of non-monogamy would be not a dead end, but it would be a living hell. And we're going to talk more about it. So if it is something that you consider, you might want to talk to a specialist and, to see what is it all about. Because at the end of the day, polyamory is not a yes or no question. It's a why question. It's a how question. And it's a rule, certain boundaries question.
Well, we're going to hold those questions, and we're keeping Madina. We're going to carry on with this conversation right after we've heard from our guest experts. What do we get out of that embracing of our sensuality as a woman?
We get that sparkle back. That's probably the only way I can actually describe it. That little bit of fire inside, that sparkle. It sort of reignites it again.
Yes.
It's like, okay, I'm in touch with my body. I can move it to music. I can present myself or frame parts of my body in a way that draws attention. But it might be something so simple as, take it, in burlesque classes, we don't always full strip off down to knickers and tassels. That stigma needs to be.
Yes.
But even like a little glove peel. We've got naked hands we see every single day, but just something like that, a stroke, we get in touch with our bodies, it looks sensual and it sort of ignites that little bit of fierceness, and we then present that self in daily life to be a little bit more daring.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We have sex therapist Madina Demirbas with us. She's a TEDx speaker. She specialises in infidelity as a couples therapist. We are talking about polyamory. It's a fascinating conversation. Rewind if you have just tuned in. Now, we watch shows like Sister Wives, and that's kind of the information we get, and that's about it. And in some cultures, actually having a mistress is a norm. I know that a friend of mine, his grandfather had a mistress. All the grandchildren were introduced to the mistress. They all liked the mistress better than grandma. So that was great. And actually, they speak so fondly of her.
Yeah.
So, are there cultures where it's common practice still? But also, what is Sister Wives not telling us?
I think inherently the question is, are we by nature monogamous? Or is it just a product of patriarchy? We don't know. We have certain indigenous groups where the family structure would be fluid, and it's totally fine, and more or less, it's managed well. Yeah. Now we do know that the structure of a family turned into monogamous, surprise, surprise, with agricultural revolution, because that's when the inheritance became important, the land became important, and you just needed to make sure that you inherit the land to the right people that are related to you. Before that, it was never such an issue. So that's the biggest question: how actually monogamous are we by nature, or what are certain cultures embraced it, certain didn't, and if we're talking, for example, in some Middle Eastern and African countries as well, it's polyamory or having sister wives is still a common practice.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. That is a good question, is how monogamous are we by nature? And I think that varies from individual to individual. I mean, I know my husband will always say to me, I can't even keep up with you and my job, let alone have an affair. It's out of the fact that he's too busy that he's not doing it. I don't think it's anything to do with anything else.
Exactly, that's what I hear. And that's the idea that's being questioned in the book, The Ethical Slut, the guide towards polyamory. Exactly that. Does our love diminish with every partner, or does it actually grow? She argues that it actually, the more partners you have, perhaps increases your love for your current partner.
Which is very interesting, because I guess it could, because in many ways, when you have children, your love doesn't diminish. It grows.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest arguments that polyamorous advocates are saying is, if you're capable of loving one child, 2 children, 3 children, whatever, 10 children, what makes you think that you can't love several partners at the same time?
Yes.
And that one love enhances the love towards your other partner?
Yeah, because
very interesting.
It is. It's almost as if the other partner fulfills certain needs that the other one can't, then actually you can be really satisfied.
Absolutely. That's the initial claim, obviously. And then, you know, another common argument against polyamory or any type of open relationship is this that Peter Pan syndrome, that these are the people who didn't grow up and they don't know how to meet their needs and they're being needy and they try it's not necessarily the case, because it's about consent and it's about respectful, open communication, which takes a lot of maturity.
True.
Ideally.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Now, if it's not the norm in your culture and this is the individual, you are considering it, are there other questions you need to ask yourself? Not just, oh, this will be fun. Is it, do I need to ask myself, am I bored? Am I looking for something? Are there more pressing questions I need to ask me?
Absolutely. I think the good start would be a movie, Professor Marston and Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Because it really shows very well how, apart from managing your own emotions, you have societal roles and you have children and you have community and you have job. How do you actually, all the logistics of it? It gives you an idea that it's it's complicated. It complicates the communication, at least from the start. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest questions that I always ask for the couples who want to transition into polyamory: how good is your communication? How would you rate it on the level from 0 to 10? And because if, polyamory can bring lots of things and we don't know them, but lots of them are uncertain. But one thing is that is certain is going to be a strain on your communication.
Yes.
And is your current style ready for this test? It's a test. And then in some couples who do go through it, they do very well and they say that was the best decision they've ever made. But you've got to be prepared that you, perhaps if it's not your strongest side yet, perhaps first you want to strengthen your communication styles. You want to see, second question is you want to look at how are you dealing with jealousy.
Yes.
Yeah.
How some people are inherently more jealous, some are not. What is it about for you? It's not an emotion to avoid. It's actually an emotion that you can unpack.
Yes.
And even it can be resourceful, even in polyamorous relationship. And third one's, what are the rules that you would be okay with? What are the no-nos for sure? And, what are the possible scenarios?
So important.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than one might think.
Yeah.
So what happens, as sometimes we might hear, especially in tabloids again, if the partner who initiated the polyamorous relationship decides they don't want it anymore, but then the more reluctant partner has become the one that wants to continue it?
It's more common than people would expect, and obviously there are really good books, but also like good questionnaires that actually ask you this question beforehand.
Okay.
It's one of the most common questions there. What would you do if your partner enjoys polyamory much more than you do and they become popular? Surprise, surprise, something you didn't envision when you were negotiating for polyamory. How would you go about it? Are you ready for this? And the second element, I think, is ongoing consent and ongoing check-in. It's just because somebody said yes to polyamory and to certain rules a year or two ago, it doesn't mean it's going to work today, and you need to continuously check in with each other.
And it kind of brings into question as well, like the initial reasons. Is it something to do with control? So if the person that initiates it wanted to control, and then all of a sudden they thought, no, it's not for me, and the other person does, that might bring out huge issues if the initial person then doesn't have any control.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and
a big issue.
Ideally, in this book, Ethical Slut, it's questioned that the idea that relationships should be based on ownership, and fidelity, whatever that means, but rather on they advocate for self-expression and trust and respect. Ideally, again.
Yes.
That's that's the whole incentive behind consensual non-monogamy.
I think when it's consensual, trust and respect is actually embedded in it, and I think that's beautiful actually in many ways. But that doesn't mean a monogamous couple don't trust or respect each other. It's just, if that couple likes to express themselves in that way, they respect each other and they trust each other, great.
Yeah, well, yes, because then it seems
found
that the trust
the right
would run
person.
deeper. And, exactly. You know you're with the right person.
And some people would have rather smooth transitions, and this is something that they were initially considering, and as we know from survey, so from surveys done in the UK, 35% of men are considering, young men from the age of 24 till I think 37, they are considering a polyamorous relationship.
Wow.
Not that they're having it.
No,
now,
but
we know from statistics, again, up to 10% at most. But at least one in every third man is thinking about it.
Oh my goodness.
Much less for women, but again, we need to double check which type of women. From which
Absolutely.
community.
Wow, so interesting.
Gosh, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And how does polyamory affect the wider family? Do they get told, or is it more common that they would be told or not told?
I think when it comes to it's a personal choice for every couple of them coming out as a polyamorous. For some communities, this is not an option. It means an exclusion, and then it's a trade-off. You hide something because you value the inclusion. You can't, sometimes you really cannot be accepted in certain communities, whereas it takes time and so on. And again, there are many communities already all over the country and in Western cultures especially, but now with the internet as well, that are offering this support and offering this transition, how you go about with communities, certain types of communities, how do you open up and what does it take, and the do's and the don'ts.
Yeah, so you can see that I read tabloids and I read problem pages, and I particularly like the relationship ones because I find them really fascinating. And I do remember reading one question where it's a throuple, and for some reason, tax-wise, it works out better that the husband divorces the wife and marries the other partner. Now, everyone is very, very happy with that, but they don't have to tell the children. And actually the advice of the person was, do you even need to tell the children unless it affects the inheritance or whatever? And it doesn't. But
for children, according to research, one of the most fundamental parts that they need for them to develop emotionally and academically and so on is stability. It's emotionally unconditional regard, unconditional love, and emotional attunement. So if you can handle these three things along with however many relationships you have, then you're doing fine. And obviously children they don't need to know the intimate details, but they need to know what's going on, because the secrecy then turns into, they're filling up the gaps in their own mind in a different way than you would have imagined.
yes, that's true. So again, it comes back to trust, respect.
Yes.
Oh, loving this conversation. We're keeping Madina. We'll be back just after these tips from our experts. How do we keep that feeling, that strength, maybe that dominance even, that we've experienced in the class, that we know is part of us in our day-to-day lives?
Great question.
How do we bring that in?
So my class has a WhatsApp group as well. So everybody that joins basically gets flung into this WhatsApp group with a load of other women. But they are the most supportive group I have ever known. You go to some places and they're really, really cliquey. They've got their sets of friends. So I go off and talk to them and everything, and they go off in their little groups. What I've found, especially with the lesbian classes, is that we all work together. Oh, I'm feeling a bit low today. Oh, this costume, I'll look at this costume, but I'm not sure about it. Send the pictures in and we're like, you look amazing. Oh my God, you look gorgeous. You look like an absolute goddess, or my heel's just broke and has anybody got a pair of size 6s, blah, 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 blah. Yep, I've got a pair. I'll bring them with me to the next class. And that is what I'm so glad we've created, is this kind of little community spirit. And I'm hoping that, you know, every burlesque class out there is like that, that we just support each other mentally. I've had a bit of a down day today. Okay, don't worry, we'll talk about it. Do you want to meet up for a coffee? Yeah, cool. And that does really help.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. We are having the best discussion with Madina Demirbas. She is a TEDx speaker. She is a couples therapist. She specialises in infidelity. And we're talking about polyamory, which is not actually infidelity. It is a form of consensual non-monogamy, which has rules, though. And we need to say that it has rules. And that's probably how it works, or the only way it can work. But let's talk about some of the practical elements, because I know you touched on this earlier. And this is things like inheritance, wills. Yeah. I mean, those need to be discussed openly as well, don't they? And
absolutely, because according to the UK law, only people who are part of the official... So polyamory is not considered an official marriage, and therefore the inheritance would be only the ones that were registered.
Yes.
Therefore, you need to discuss the will and things like that in advance. But like I said earlier, in the questionnaire, when you're considering the polyamory, it would ask this question. Usually, it would get to the practical stuff as well.
And actually, in so many ways, it sounds like you're better off considering polyamory and having these discussions than you would be in just having a step family, you know, where they're not having these discussions, and the problems come out when it comes to inheritance. So in a way, there are things we can learn from the polyamorous and even the kink community, because they have really open communication, which is it's brilliant. And now, polyamory isn't just a way to have an affair, but it is a way of life. So have you got examples of polyamorous relationships that do work really, really well?
So, when we're talking about polyamory and whether it is good or not, which is in itself a question, because you know, it's a tricky question. Good for whom? Let's look at the research and what it says, because you know we can talk for hours and hours whether it is beneficial or not, but the research says that there is not that much that there's no much statistical difference between monogamous and ethical non-monogamous families. So if you think that you would be happier in non-monogamous, perhaps not, or more satisfied with the family life. However, for certain type of people, we know that ethical non-monogamy would work better. For example, for people with high levels of social sexuality. Now, social sexuality is an ability to engage into sexual intercourse activity without necessarily emotional attachment. So these people, you can call them people with higher sexual desire, but not necessarily. It's a different type. So it's a high level of social sexuality, which means that they have a higher need to engage, to meet more people sexually, and so on. So they would feel much more restrained by the traditional monogamy, and therefore we would recommend for them to go out and try, first of all, try to have a partner who would match in this level, and then to try out the different types of consensual non-monogamy.
Oh, interesting.
But otherwise, there is, you know, now the tricky part obviously is what is monogamous. So in these studies that are being conducted and comparing these two groups, people who are reporting that they're monogamous, are they really? This is what we don't know. But if we consider that they are and they're saying the truth, then there is not that much difference.
Right. Okay. Yes, that is. That's interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what if, as a partnership, you decide you want to go forward with polyamory, but the person that one partner chooses as an ideal third person in the relationship, the other partner isn't happy with?
This is rather common.
This
is something, again, that you decide or try to negotiate beforehand. whether how do you go about, because it can be a good question for unpacking why you don't like the other person.
True.
Is it the jealousy? Is it the way they are? Is it requires an open ongoing communication beforehand and during, because things do happen in the process that you couldn't foresee, and then it can be unpacked and discussed and respected, because ideally consensual non-monogamy is based on trust and respect.
Yes.
Can I ask an extra question, which is sort of based on that? So would you say with the couples that you see anyway, that one wants to pursue a polyamorous relationship because they've already met somebody that they want to do that with, or is it the idea that they want to pursue and then go and find a third person?
Good question.
It really depends. I'm trying to think. What I know for sure, that polyamory right after infidelity instance is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So first you need to make sense of infidelity, why did happen, what you were looking for. And obviously, if, in the cases when a person is considering opening up a relationship, then first and foremost you need to ask why, and whether what you're pursuing, what you think you will reach with polyamory, is doable for your character. Because it all comes back to knowing yourself, to expressing yourself, but or at least thinking that you know. For example, I want polyamory because I like the spice, or I like this and that. So I hope with the open relationship or polyamorous relationship, I'm gonna, fulfill this need. All right. So what kind of person are you then? Are you? Were you able to receive this, create the spice with your current partner, and so on and so forth? And then whether it is doable, it really
It's a big discussion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of retrospection. Some people just go for it. They don't like to overthink it. They go for it and they learn in the process. I would suggest at least consider certain scenarios, think a little bit through them, and then perhaps trying different and starting in lighter versions and transitioning. There are specific transition questions and transition exercises that couples can try before they fully become polyamorous.
I think that's important.
Yes, and could be a big minefield. So how did double lives then differ from polyamory?
You see, because from infidelity point of view, the double life has the secrecy, it has some kind of element of dishonesty and secrecy. Whereas
polyamory
is
joyful,
ideally, again, there are certain rules that the couple would discuss. However, it's interesting that very often, since I'm working with infidelity, very often it is this precise element of secrecy and having double life is that what's attracting to people. It's not their other partner, it's not their current husband or wife that they didn't like, but it's interesting. I can quote, when the client said, I just so much enjoy that nobody knows it, and I do, and I feel superiority over everybody. That's it.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. So it's so take this secrecy element. Maybe polyamorous is not even going to be enjoyable for you. It will be just another headache.
Yes.
It's the excitement and
of secrecy.
This is like when you were on the show talking about affairs. Play it through.
Yeah.
Play it through. Go from the flirtation and the fun bit into washing their socks. Yeah. Then see where you are.
Yeah.
I love that. Such a good point. Such a good point.
Oh, it's been brilliant.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask? Because I've got just one more. This is just what's happening now with these AI boyfriends that people are having. Do you think that's going to be a problem? And I know this is not necessarily your area of research, but just to throw it out there, because I read about this and then I see these women who are just talking to, I think it's a problem that they're talking to AI as a therapist. But when you're now having a kind of emotional connection with AI, it's a program. That worries me.
Yeah, I think it's not like it's becoming a problem,
that's
it's
true.
already a problem. And for many relationships, and having conversations with AI girlfriend or boyfriend or webcam services, would we consider it as cheating? You know, I think in modern world, what we need to, I don't think everybody should go for polyamory, but we need to redefine what is monogamy, and perhaps, you know, because monogamy in 19th century and 20th century was more doable, let's put it this way, than in 21st. Yeah. And perhaps, you know, and in a way that this is something to consider for every, and some couples are absolutely happy with traditional monogamous structures. They really are. Yeah. And we, you know, but more and more couples are turning to me and asking, you know, if we want to make it work in the long term, and having so many options out there, how do we still stay together with respect and love and passion?
And those are good questions to ask,
really good
actually.
questions, yeah.
Really respectful questions, again. Oh, my goodness.
Gosh. Well, yes, thank you. And where can we find out more about you?
So I'm a bit present on Instagram, Madina Relationships Therapist. You can also Google Madina Sex Therapist and my name will come out first, but also my website, www.madinademirbas.com.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to keep Madina because I really don't want to call it test the trend now. But if you're considering polyamory, we're going to give it to Madina to give you some of the questions you need to be asking yourself. So let's head over to test the trend.
So if you're considering opening up your relationship with your partner in some type of form of consensual non-monogamy, then there are at least three questions that I recommend you consider. Number one is, how do you handle jealousy? Look at your personal history, look at your history as a couple. How do you go about it? How do you communicate it? And what do you make of it? And question number two, perhaps which should have been question number one, is how would you rate your communication style, openness of your communication? How are you satisfied on your ability, your personal ability to communicate your needs, to hear the needs of your partner, and to make something, to face the conflict and to make conclusions after conflict? How does it, what kind of aftertaste do you have after this difficult conversations with your partner? Because one thing for sure is that any type of open relationships would put a strain on your current communication skills, and you might want to consider to strengthen them first before going into open relationships. And then number three is the boundaries, which can also be number one as well. I think they're all equally important, but the boundaries in terms of how far do you think you want to go and how far you would want your partner to go and why. And what do you want to, I think, this is like sort of sub-question to all of that, is why? What do you hope to achieve with consensual non-monogamy with your partner, and whether do you think it's doable for you and for both of you?
It was so good listening to you.
Thank you.
Because and those top tips are so important. And you're right. I don't think one is more important than the other. You need to communicate. You need to know your boundaries. Jealousy was the one thing I would not have considered. And this is where I think when people say open relationship, and maybe this is me just being really judgmental, it's because they're bored, they're thinking of having an affair, they don't actually think
what
of
it
the
takes.
consequences.
What does it take for you and for your partner and for your family? Not
yes.
just that there are two of you, but the broader community.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to reflect on. Anything that really jumped out for you, Jude?
A couple of things, actually. I mean, I would be too jealous. I wouldn't be able to handle it, you know. I'm married.
My husband's not even allowed. When I'm dead, I'm going to haunt him. I've told him that. No, not you.
He'll be fine with Tina.
Exactly.
That's the cat. That's the cat.
Yeah, that's it. It's the cat.
So that's one big thing, you know. And I think that must affect a lot of people. But the other thing is, however, having just said that I'm thinking about, I'm married, you know, I've got my husband and we're good friends. We talk about everything under the sun, and, you know, he's good for like emotional support, etc., etc. But I have male and female friends that I would meet for coffee or lunch or dinner or whatever, and I would, that they have something different, you know, and the relationship I have with them would be something different to have to what I have with my husband. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe a polyamorous relationship is just a slight extension of that, because like you said earlier, the third person might be what you don't get with your other partner, you get with them. So I can see why it would work.
I agree.
And how it would work.
Yeah, I agree with you. And with that, I guess does polyamory mean there has to be a sexual aspect?
Yes.
Yeah,
Some there has to be a relationship element into it, and all the parties involved are aware of what's going on, and they all ideally consent to it. It's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you would see, you know, the couple between themselves that would be openly polyamorous, and then they would go out and have partners who don't even know that these people have this kind of, it's not necessarily, it's not a common practice, but I'm saying is, you know, or then gradually they would become more, you know, open to other, telling other people, but that's how it usually starts. But also, Judith, I just want to comment on this friendship thing. You know, because the whole idea of polyamory is loving several people at the same time, and then the question is, can you love somebody without necessarily having a relationship with them?
I think you can.
And some people can, and some people can't. They want more, and if they want more, you know, then they need perhaps some support to make it happen, or to see if they're actually capable.
Yes, yeah.
But I think for some people, like, having those other strong friendships are enough, and they wouldn't ever cross that line and go into a physical relationship with them. But I suppose what I'm saying is I can see how just that extra step could happen and how it could work if everyone was in agreement. Where,
absolutely.
See what I mean?
Yeah, no. And I think we do have friendships that fulfill other aspects of, because in a way, if you're talking just about well-being in general, you can't expect your partner to fulfill everything.
No.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we have highest ever rates of divorce, because so much expectation are put just on one person.
Yes.
You want them to be sexy, you want them to be interesting, exciting, giving you emotional support, making you tea, and you know, also looking after household in a very perfect way. And so many things, right? And one of the you know, one of the reasons why polyamory on this type of relationship are getting more seen is one of the ways to combat this loneliness and this overburdening.
And one thing we didn't get the chance to talk about in the show is what if you, as the couple, you want to break up with your third because you just, you know, you're not feeling it anymore.
Yeah,
that's an awful situation as well, isn't it?
It is, but I think if again if you agree from start that you will continuously check in on each other, and that it's an open road and everybody has the right to say no at any time that they feel it's not working for them, and again explore the reasons why, then it should go rather smoothly. Not that it's going to be smooth, but you know.
So just to close us off, Madina, can you give us one top tip on maintaining a healthy relationship, whatever that relationship is?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because I know you've got some in our test the trend, but
yeah. I think one of the biggest issues that I see right now as working in general couples, whatever form they choose, is an inability to hear each other. It doesn't matter what form of relationship they're in. To maintain, I would call it maintaining two realities. So it's usually, no, you're seeing it wrong because it is like that.
Right.
No, you don't understand. This is right and you are wrong, and cut it off, and I don't want to hear anything about it. Whereas my job is bringing these two realities and letting them coexist together without crossing each other out. I don't know if that makes sense.
That really does.
And it takes a lot of inner maturity, not to pretend that like, right, this is your opinion, but actually see the reality of other person, like what you described here. See the other shades of green that you might.
Are you looking at the same colour as I am?
This is the way it is. This is your pain. This is my pain. all right, you know, we don't have to solve it right away, but at least consider it, regard it.
That is
at the same time.
Oh, that's beautiful. And
if you can do that, you don't need a couples therapist.
And on that note, we wish you a very good night.